If you could eliminate data entry for your truckload brokers, how much more business would your top performers win? TIE TMS has an array of tools designed to save you hours a day. Import your entire spreadsheet of shipments. Let TIE create seamless integrations to your customers' internal systems. And if all of your orders come through email, TIE TMS leverages AI to read an incoming email and enter the shipment for you. Visit tie-software.com to learn more about how you can empower your top performing brokers to increase their shipment volume today.
I got friends only wanna talk business. I got expensive cause winning's expensive. I got expensive cause winning's expensive. I've been winning all the war. And I've been shutting down the stars.
And welcome to Put That Coffee Down, the freight sales show for closers here in the freight industry here on FreightWaves TV. I am going alone behind the desk today, but I have a great guest, Jim Becker, CEO of Becker Logistics, going to join me in just a couple minutes here, and we're going to talk about sales. We're going to talk about his career in sales and, you know, the ups and downs of grinding it out every single day through life. But before we get there, I want to talk about Northwest Arkansas, the future of supply chain. It is our event that we have coming up here May 9th and 10th in Rogers, Arkansas, where we're going to be talking to the leaders in the industry, really about the future of supply chain, about where it's going, the technology. I think we have 32 to 35. It kind of seems to change every day. Demo companies showing off new technology there. We have great events. We have we have the live desk that you just saw right there as well. FreightWaves TV has their own stage. We have the main stage. It is going to be a lot of fun. If you've never been to a FreightWaves event, we haven't had one in a couple years, but they're just badass. They tear apart the competition with any other event that you can go to. So you see it there on your screen, $12.95 for a ticket. It's our March Madness deal. So that's number one. Number two is we have the 3PL Summit coming up tomorrow. So that's something Kaylee Nix and I will be hosting. We have just incredible content throughout the day. We have Ann Ranke coming in, talking about the TIA, talking about double brokering and some of the regulations behind that, so that's great. We have Cargo Chief coming in. We have Freight Caviar himself, and Freight Caviar and myself, Paul, will be talking about kind of the war in Ukraine, some of the back office, a lot of admin, freight brokers, carrier salespeople are based in the Ukraine. So we'll talk about that. I also have an amazing discussion with David Hoffeld, who was with us last year. He's been on the show a couple times. He's written a couple books on the science of selling. So his new book comes out very soon, Sell More with Science. And we had a great conversation. So invite you to come in. Registration's free. Just go to live.freightwaves.com. Free registration. It kicks off at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, and we'll be off and to the races for a full day of 3PL, sales, freight brokerage, new technologies. We have 9 demo companies showing their wares. It's amazing. So join us tomorrow, and that is March 16th. I think it's March 15th now. So March 16th, join us and have fun with us during the day. Network, chat about the sessions that engage you. So again, 9 a.m. live.freightwaves.com. But without further ado, let's bring on Jim Becker, CEO of Becker Logistics, to the show. How are you doing today, Jim?
I'm doing great, Kevin. Good morning.
Good morning. Are you ready for March Madness?
I am. I'm really excited, and I can't wait for FreightWaves March also. So that's going to be pretty exciting.
It is. It is going to be exciting. Before we jump into the interview, let me tip the band here with TIE Software. TIE is the ultimate domestic 3PL solution for LTL and full truckload freight. TIE TMS gives you a centralized platform for sourcing load coverage by connecting you to load boards, rate intelligence, and capacity tools on a single page. To learn more, visit TIE-software.com. That's TAI-software.com. So back to Jim. Thank you so much for joining us. We've been talking for a while now, and it's exciting to get you back on the show.
Absolutely. It's great to be here, Kevin. Thank you so much. And we've known each other for quite some time now, and it's a great place to be in this freight world.
It is. It's a great place to be. It is an exciting time. The last couple of years have been none that I've ever seen. How about yourself?
No, I've been in this industry now for 30 years. So I started in 1990 working for a freight broker here in the Chicagoland area. And I'll tell you, starting out when you're 20 years old, right after college, not knowing much about the industry, and really just getting your teeth cut on that, you really find out what you don't know. And along the way, you become wiser as you grow.
So 1990, 20 years old, freight broker. How do you find trucks in 1990? How do you find customers in 1990?
Oh, it was pretty cool. There's this, you would fax your loads over at the end of every day. And if you wanted to, you could pay it $1 to post a load by calling it in. And then they would automatically do that live for you. It was pretty interesting. And back then in the day, you had fax paper that was rolled up. And when those faxes would come off, it was hot, right? So they would call it the hot trucks. And you'd get that coming in every single day. And sometimes you run out of a roll of paper coming in on the fax machine. So I'm kind of showing my age right now.
That's okay. It's interesting, right? Because I came into the industry about 2011, 2012. We still had fax machines. We still faxed over rate confirmations. I couldn't believe it. I walked in and it's like, seriously, we have fax machines sitting around here? I think a lot of brokerages still have those fax machines. But how many loads could you cover in a day? How many loads could you? Yeah, back then.
Yeah, well, back then, I worked at the smaller brokerage. There was a total of 8 people. They were about $2 million in sales. And I came in to take over the LTL department or start the LTL department. And I had this thing called a pony. And I got a lot of calluses, very similar to playing a guitar, by going through this pony all day long and your National Motor Freight Classification Guide, really understanding how things are packaged and what their item numbers are. And I became a master at that back then. And from 1990 to 1995, really just understanding that whole world. And, you talk about sales, I didn't really know anything about sales. I didn't know anything about LTL, but I ended up being able to move at my peak there about 65 loads per day, making, really good profit margin, anywhere from 27 to 35%. And the only reason I was able to do that was I built a macro in an Excel document and really just built up the data with each one of the partners that we were dealing with our carriers. So either on a contract carrier or a common carrier, I was able to shift between and understand what those lanes were like and what those partnerships were like and who I could give freight to or who I could bring pallets to in a warehouse so that I could stage it and build a truckload and then send it out. Great ideas back then, coming up with new ways of being innovative to really move freight, and was able to build that up to be $2 million in 2 years. So that brokerage went from $2 million to $4 million with just adding on LTL as an additional mode.
It's always about bundling. It's always about finding that new niche or that new opportunity, right? I mean, that's what sales and business is all about.
Absolutely.
What was your first?
Sales is just a partnership, Mm-hmm. Sorry, Kevin.
No, go ahead. Sales is a partnership.
So sales is just a partnership, that's what it is. You're really just being there as an advocate for the other person. And that other person is actually being an advocate right back, helping the other person grow. And 2 people are able to grow together along the way. And hopefully 2 companies.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be win-win, right? If it's not win-win, you immediately get buyer's remorse or seller's remorse a lot of times, right? Especially in freight brokerage. In freight brokerage, I got a lot of seller's remorse. I got myself into a lot of positions that just weren't profitable. It's those customers, the customers that give you the least amount of margin, take up the most amount of your time, give you the most headaches, yell and scream at you the most. file the claims, right? So there's also seller's remorse, especially in freight brokerage. But if both the buyer and the seller aren't creating value for themselves through a deal, it's going to fall apart.
I agree. You have to really understand and get to the core of that. So I did the LTL coordination for a total of 3 years, and then I graduated. Got promoted up into sales. So I went out and did sales, and became the top selling salesperson there. And that's where I really started realizing, wait, I need more, right? And that's how I was able to do it. I started working with Anthony Robbins back then, learning how to do sales because there's no information out there, right? And plus we didn't have the internet now, right? So back then the internet didn't come out until really using it until about 1995. I remember my first AOL account, but it's trying to come up with a system. And so I would try a system and it wouldn't work. I'd try another system, wouldn't work. And I basically benchmarked with all the other salespeople that I knew at the company. And we just benchmarked trying to find out what they did. And I brought all that information together and created a system that I could actually use each and every time. And that was successful with each and every customer. And that's kind of hard to do. And, starting out like that, not being trained on how to do that. They didn't have a learning and development team. They didn't have that leadership to say, this is how you should sell, or this is the process of selling. So I had to create that on my own. And it actually did work.
So do you think that is one of the big secrets or what enabled you to be a good salesman or a great salesman is creating a system? Do you think that's important for every salesperson out there to do, is create a system that you can replicate and close deal after deal with?
Absolutely. I mean, Kevin, with everything in our industry, with everything in our lives, just in being a human, we have systems in our life. And why not the thing that you're putting the most time and energy into, why not have a system on that where you can check the boxes and say, these are being completed? Just like one should have values in their life and they can check those boxes off to say, I've completed those values each and every day, or I looked through these filters of these values in my life that this is what's showing up for me. And when one does that, they can really move forward. So having some type of selling system that you have prescribed to, something that you see that can be used not only for one customer that is that kind of a pain in the butt customer that you were saying, they only give you all the hard stuff that nobody else will take, and you're trying to prove yourself to them, you can use that same system for them as well as the person that's going to throw you freight or whatever the case may be right away. So having that system and having it tested and proven, you see your ratio go up higher and higher and higher. And the same thing applies for athletes. You have a system. There's certain processes that everyone goes through in business or at any professional arena. You need a system to actually make that work.
When you talk about sales system or process, what's the foundation of that? What's the first step? Anyone out there listening right now, what's the first step that you need to take, the first building block of building a system out?
Yeah, it's getting to know each other. It's trying to find common ground. It's trying to understand where they're at, who they are, and them showing up to you differently. And hearing them differently than you've ever heard before. See, a lot of people are too busy speaking with what they have on their mind, what is on their agenda, or that they need to close this deal, or if they don't, they're going to lose their job. So you have to have that peace of mind over here when you're talking to them over there. And then you have to get out here listening to them more than we're speaking so that you can hear who they show up as or who they want you to know them as. So there's a lot of rapport. There's a way of just getting to know them and checking the boxes. How are we similar? Does Kevin have hair or no hair like me? Oh, look, we're bonding here. How long has he been in the industry? Has he been in the industry since 1990 like me, or did he just start 11 years ago or in 2011? In those situations, you're trying to measure that up to say, okay, who is this person that they're showing up to me as? And being able to be present and listen to that.
You're exactly right about that. I've closed more deals, opened more relationships. It might, in the grand scheme of things, especially if you have to make your quota every month, you never want to be in that position, right? It might take a little bit longer, but just being out, talking to people, learning about them, putting two and two together, and it might be down the road, but everyone, every conversation is an opportunity, but it's not an opportunity right now. So you can't go around pitching what you're doing to everybody and mowing over them, interrupting, and just getting it out, because it doesn't work. You have to build the rapport. You have to build the rapport and accept, really going into it, you have to accept this might not work out or it might. It doesn't really matter. I just enjoy the conversation. And if you just keep on doing that over and over and over again, you're going to talk to enough people where it is a good fit, where you're going to get the business. It's going to be mutually a partnership, mutually beneficial, and everyone's going to get value out of it. And that's when you can cut out those valueless partnerships and agreements, and especially in freight brokers, those valueless customers.
Right. Yeah, and I have to tell you, Kevin, I didn't realize that until I was failing. Back then you were going door to door. You were trying to sneak in the back door, and I just was treating everybody the same. And you can't. We're all human beings, and we all have different attributes. We see the world differently, each one of us. That's what makes the humanity so special. We're all human beings, but we're all different. We look different. We weigh different. Our eye colors are different. We think different. So really just getting to know that person and getting down into it, who they are, who they show up as. And it doesn't stop there. And that's, I'll be honest, I failed you a lot. I failed throughout all of that because I just got stuck into the bonding, right? I just got stuck in the conversation, and I forgot what I was there for. I forgot that I was there for a purpose. I was there to help them with what they were dealing with, what they were struggling with. What are they struggling with? And what am I struggling with over here? And how can I really bring that together so that we can bond together and help each other out in a time of need? See, I failed at all that. And when I started breaking it down and coming up with a system, just like when I go out to work out, I have a system. Yesterday was chest. Today is legs. So when I have a system, I can cover every part of my body so that I'm working through that. And in sales, a lot of salespeople fail because they just get stuck into a conversation where they're getting to know each other. And then once they get to know each other, well, what's next? Oh, well, I'll let you go. There's so much more. There's got to be promises in there for each person. Like I promised to you that I'll get you that information back on Thursday. And then setting that up so that you can remember that and get that promise fulfilled. Maybe they have a promise where they're going to get you some lanes, and they're fulfilling on that promise as well. So how do you really go from a conversation to now creating these promises to really figuring out what areas that they are really having problems with, and then letting them know that you can help them and fulfill on what you say those promises are, fulfill on all of that, and take care of their needs and help them grow as an organization, understanding what their pains are. Maybe it's a transactional thing. Maybe it's some goal that they have. Maybe it's a need that they have. See, we're all getting pushed on the goals, the needs, and the pains that we have. How do we take care of each one of those and fulfill those so that we can both do this? Not only on a customer sales aspect, but also the partners that we have with, right? I'm a partner with FreightWaves, and I'm looking for that partnership to really help grow you guys, and you're helping me grow as well through great tools like Sonar. It's fantastic. But we really have to create those promises from the sales aspect, from the customer aspect. Those are promises that we have to fulfill on.
You're exactly right. Again, just put that coffee down, sitting here talking to Jim Becker, CEO of Becker Logistics. How long have you been in business, Jim? When did you start your first Becker Logistics? When did you start that? And what was the overwhelming reason of why you did it, why you had to do it?
The why is so important. You know, I worked for that brokerage for 5 years, and I was offered promises like part ownership, and that never got fulfilled. I was actually told, no, it's not going to happen. So I sold a logistics contract for handling all of their business for 2 years. It was a $5 million deal each year for 2 years. And at age 25, I wrote that contract. They signed it. And then afterwards, they said, what would it take for you to come work for us? This was my opportunity to honor that non-compete I had. I had a 2-year non-compete, non-solicit, and I honored that. And I went ahead and planned my own company. I wouldn't do it again. Trust me. It was terrible. I mean, this May will be our 25th year anniversary. So we started the company in 1997, and it was fun. The reason I did that is because I wanted to create a different environment for our employees, somewhere where we could actually help people grow, help people get to that next level where they either want to be or need to be. A lot of people, sometimes they don't see where they need to be or the information. They don't have those mentors. They don't have that guiding light. How can we help each person along the way? And that's one of my purposes is how can I help each and every person to make this a better world in the transportation world? And that's kind of like the network promise I put together 4 years ago by giving out free content on LinkedIn and other social media platforms. How do we do that? It's a promise that I created. And also, we created a social promise helping every single homeless people in our communities. And how do we do that? We donate $1 for every single load that we move. And today we're moving 450, 500 loads a day. We're able to make a huge impact with that promise that we created, over 2 years ago now.
That is that's outstanding that you're doing that. You're helping the homeless. Let's talk about LinkedIn. Over the last couple of years, I think maybe it's been a little bit longer. Maybe it's not quite that long, but certainly during the pandemic, the last couple of years, you've done a lot on LinkedIn. What benefits has that brought to you? And that could be business, that could be personal. What do you like about it the most? Well,
that's great, Kevin. It's not what it's done for me. It's what we're doing for other people. It was an idea I came up with 4 years ago. I was down in South Africa. I was reading a book and I read another book and I come back and I always have these projects. So I created this project called a network promise. And how can I get out in my network? I already knew a lot of people, but how could I give information out to people? And I found people at conferences or just phone calls, random people calling me up, other business owners saying, hey, Jim, what's your viewpoint on this? Or how could I do this? How could I help my marketing here? Or how can I do a selling system? Or how could I do this? Or what structure do I need to do? Should I have certain controls in my company? Or how do I get SOX compliant? All these questions were being asked of me. And I'm like, I've got a forum. Why don't I go ahead and put this out there? Once I did that, that information now is being viewed by thousands of people every single month. And I have 50,000 followers following our content. And anything that we put out there, if it's a PDF or if it's a video, we do videos every week. We do live feeds as well. It just really gives people that information that wasn't available before. And now it is there for them to make a difference in not only in their world, but there's a ripple effect. It's for their employees too. It's for their customers. It's for their partners, their carriers. So it's a ripple effect that it's not tangible. You can't really see it. But let me tell you, when I talk to these individuals at a conference and they saw my videos, it made a difference in their lives. And it really helps. And it makes what I'm up to in my life something that it wasn't before.
Jim, I agree. Content is king. Thank you so much for coming on today. Running a little bit short on time, but how does our audience reach out and learn more? Jim Becker on LinkedIn is one way. What's your website?
The website is www.beckerlogistics.com, or gobecker.com can get you there also. My email, jim.becker@beckerlogistics. If you want, DM me. My LinkedIn handle is Jim Becker 3PL. Follow me, connect, hit me up, and we'll go from there.
Perfect. Thank you again, Jim, and we'll have you on again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kevin. Really do appreciate it.
Again, that was Jim Becker, CEO of Becker Logistics, talking about sales, one of my favorite topics. It's always good to have people like Jim on, get their perspectives, find out what worked for them, try to replicate it, try to up our sales game. It's rewarding not just financially, but also emotionally and as a purpose, right? Because if you're building partnerships, value equals value. You're going to be successful in life, and that's going to wrap it up for Put That Coffee Down this week.
I got friends only want to talk business. I got expensive, cause winning's expensive. I got expensive, cause winning's expensive. I've been reading all the war. I've been shutting down the stars.